A helicopter flies into Nuku district headquarters in West Sepik with the Papua New Guinea flag slung from its belly, from a line that spreads beautifully across the sky as it propels forward, circles Nuku and lands. It's September 16th, 2015, and a good anxious crowd gathers at this oval in Nuku to welcome the passengers from the helicopter. It's a very significant day for Papua New Guinea and the people of Nuku. The country celebrates 40 years of political independence from Australia. And in the helicopter that lands after less than an hour's flight from Wewak are several people who include the Vice Minister for Inter-Government Relations and Nuku Open MP Joseph Sungi. Another passenger is pioneer Australian patrol officer who established Nuku district headquarters 58 years ago. He is George Oakes. Also in the helicopter is another former patrol officer who later succeeded George Oakes. He is Tony Try. He worked in Nuku in 1964 and 1965. Nuku Open MP Joseph Sungi was a baby, born when Try worked as a patrol officer in Nuku. One of Try's unfortunate moments was that in one of his patrols to the Mai 11 local level government area in Nuku, he got very ill and he said he was dead among the tall grasslands. But he was saved by locals who stretchered him to Nuku.
No online, he come lo himit, no vai, oli campani minister plara de lo kunaya.
Another important person in the helicopter whom we should mention is Rodney Hilton, the Minister Consular for the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade Base in Port Moresby. There was an earlier flight in the morning to Nuku in which David Tierney, son of another former patrol officer, late John Tierney, accompanied his mother Margaret to be with the people of Nuku for the Papua New Guinea's 40th independence. The Tierneys were in Nuku in 1961 and 1962. David was born at Boram Hospital in Wewak and he grew up in remote Lumi in West Sepik and later in Buka, Bougainville. David's mother Margaret and his late dad while in Buka were also instrumental during the wedding of a cadet patrol officer from West Sepik and pioneer provincial administrator for the Sundown Provincial Administration, Jerry Poivy. He is from Yangkok local level government in West Sepik. Jerry said as a young patrol officer, then he fell in love with a young nurse from Malasang village in Buka who worked at tin pots and everything else led from one to another. It was more like a solemn moment, too, for the dignitaries upon arriving at Nuku. They reflected on the initial work they did to establish Nuku, saw the transformations, and witnessing the appreciative gesture from the people of Nuku. George Oakes, the 81-year-old, now retires at the Blue Mountains in Sydney, New South Wales, is the most special dignitary among the group. He was accompanied to Nuku by his daughter, Denise Tilley. The reality is that Oakes was invited by Honourable Joseph Sungi to be in Nuku at this very special independence celebration, to be acknowledged publicly by the people for his invaluable contributions to establishing and starting the development progress for Nuku. The district embraced the theme, "Acknowledge our past to drive our future." The theme essentially radiates the idea that in order for Nuku to advance in development, the people must know their history, where they came from, or how their district began. And George Oakes is one person who was influential in identifying, establishing and naming Nuku. He spent some time working in Mendi, Southern Highlands, before moving to Lumi and then developing Nuku. He was a pilot working with Australian National Flying Service and also survey draftsman. His most significant contribution in Nuku was leading the construction of Nuku airstrip, which attracted about 1,500 men at one time who came from various warring tribes from distant villages around present-day Nuku. In most days, there are about 500 men working, and those from nearby villages would supply food for the men from distant villages. There were no roller machines to flatten the surface of the airstrip, and George brought in sing-sing groups who danced, and their thumping of the feet flattened the surface. They laid down their arms and worked together to build the airstrip in 214 days. This was in 1957.
It's interesting also Freddie Card, as DO, went to Drakekia and Same the year before, and he said that the Mai and the Palais were a rough group of people, tough, and were still fighting to a certain extent, arguing and all sorts of things, and he didn't like the sound of them very much at all. But he said when he came back, when we finished the airstrip, the whole attitude of the people had completely changed.
The airstrip construction was, however, a unifying activity for Nuku. There was no more fighting. People worked together to build Nuku. The invitation to have former Australian patrol officers acknowledged for their work appears rare in Papua New Guinea, where districts and provinces have initiated and given prominence to thanking Australians who have, if you like, discovered us and began plotting our journey to civilization, finally independence, and today we are charting our own development pathways. Honourable Joseph Sungi was frank and assertive in his statement to the people of Nuku.
I believe that life is a lifelong to easy. People are heavy, come up with time, plan to fight, but they make it through and now we play at district. So also me, member of Yupla, first of all, me like setting foundation with them history first. Notice like yeah. Then we will know that the next course, I'm Imigo.
He said Oak's return to Nuku was to release his blessing to the young generation of Nuku, including him, to take on the baton of leadership and taking control of their destiny. Honourable Sungi was a former provincial administrator for West Sepik, and he was not new to government administrative procedures and strategic planning approaches to ultimately realise tangible socio-economic development for his people. The message to his people and the service delivery implementers, the public servants, was simple.
Let me appeal to you, public servants, my presidents, ward members, that we should not be complaining, we should not be pointing fingers to each other, we must work together as a unity. We have to go back to the spirit in 1957 where our fathers, our grandfathers were able to put their hands together to build this airstrip.
Nuku has now begun to turn a new leaf with notable changes and progression within 3 years with Sungi as the political head. There is progress in road connecting with the 4 local level governments, namely Palai, Yangkok and the most remote Mai 11. These LLGs are connected with Nuku Central, where the district headquarters is. This video is a new non-gravelled road linking remote Mai 11 LLG headquarters, a 1-hour drive south from Nuku, and for Sungi, the people of Mai 11, truly in this independence crossed over being freed from the wilderness and connecting with the outside world. South from here, at Mai 11, in this view, is a breathtaking Sepik plain. Mai 11 was connected by road, Click TV network was installed and mobile communication was reliably available. Mai 11 was like the forgotten and neglected tribe in the last 40 years as far as service delivery for Nuku is concerned. Honourable Joseph Sungi said children from Mai 11 watched television throughout the evening when it was first installed because most haven't watched television in their lifetime. For the broader Nuku, mobile communication, Rural banking, cold water, cold beer, internet access, just to name a few notable changes, are no longer a luxury. One does not need to travel to Wewak, Aitape or Vanimo to access these services. These few important services will enable Nuku to progress and set the cue for bringing service delivery to the district and ward levels. It is in line with the long-term goal of the PNG government through the District Development Authority to transform districts into service centres. He said work by George Oakes in discovering Nuku was the beginning of Nuku on the move. And today he was resolute that Nuku, upon reconnecting, reconciling and appreciating history, has set the stage for service delivery progress. Oakes' recount of discovering Nuku and leading the construction of the airstrip was inspiring and emotional. Many who gathered when he spoke were not born then.
Time me come along working place Palus, people have now got bulldozer. People have now got roller. People have now got dump truck. People have now got road. You know, got one pillar road, he stop along all pillar on my way. Road, he come up behind. Now, people have got 120 spade tassel. Now, mine he come along work, then me kiss him digging stick, now he kiss him limb along sack along carrying ground. Now some of the money work him stretch along carrying ground. Now all he work all the same.
He said people used digging sticks, traditionally made bags, to move 30,000 cubic yards of soil from the 6 degrees slope airstrip. This was the homemade device George crafted and used in place of a survey levelling equipment that was not available to him. He used to measure the angles and command civil works construction, and he explains how it's used.
Now, time me work him, me kiss him spirit level, blonde carpenter, now find him level. Now me put him one pillar nail, now true nail loose finish here. Now me put him one pillar nail. Now along work him cross slope long place bar loose, me put him 1 in 40. He all the same, he walk 40 metre, he go down 1 metre. Now this pillar nail, he all the same 40 slope, long cross, long place bar loose. Now this pillar nail, he on top true. He me belong go down long place bar loose. He me up along 8 degrees slope. Now this 2 pillar, now this pillar nail, time me like working cross slope. Me look in this pillar nail, now me look in this pillar nail. Now one pillar man, he hold him DY, he all the same. Long peg, me plant him finish. Now another pillar man, he hold him 1 pillar DY, long way lick. Now time, 2 pillar nail, now 2 pillar DY, top long 2 pillar DY. He 1 line, give me good pillar.
He hands over the tool to Honourable Joseph Sungi, a sign of handing over the baton of charting development aspirations of Nuku. Oakes suggested that there were rich historical facts and these needed to be stored in a public library for people to read and appreciate, and among them, these village book records dating back over 80 years ago.
Altogether place from Nuku we got village book. Kiss him me come, now put him long library. Now put it, suppose you kiss him all together. Now me savvy plenty place, he no got book. Sample a book, or he fiery cooking pennies. Sample a book, man he give him a long novel for a man. Sample a book he throw away pennies. But one em book he stop, one em village book he stop, bring him long library. Now him me history, long time long here.
He also reminded the people that his leadership and the villagers who constructed the airstrip was the beginning of Nuku on the move. His successor, Tony Try, equally agreed and commended people. He said since their time in the 1950s and 1960s, many changes have happened.
Now me come na me look him on Nupula Road, he stop na. Could play at us. So time me stop here working Nupula Road. No, I'm all same not play Kiapi George talk. You no got machine. Walk la hand ya. Man, Mary, Holy, Boom, Walkie, Stop. I'm good, but now, I'm by Shilikliki, I've blown a machine, stop. Now, plenty road. Now, me looking all this pala, get up, you pala, now me, I'm a master. Good pala. One time me stop, this pala all work is start, then he come up good pala finish. Good pala true.
Tony worked as a patrol officer in Nuku after being relocated from Manus. In Manus, he was presented with an akubra hat decorated with dog teeth, so the people of Nuku used to brand him Teeth Dog. He still has a dog teeth hat in Australia. Tony said the event in Nuku was for the patrol officers and people of Nuku to reciprocate acknowledgements. Indeed, the occasion in Nuku went beyond mere acknowledgements. It also included practical peace and reconciliation ceremonies between two tribes, the Australians and Papua New Guineans. 5-minute flight on the helicopter to a remote village, Wunali, is a headstone of late Australian patrol officer Neil Campbell Elliott. During early contact, he was killed together with a local policeman known only as Constable Eddie Pau. Honourable Joseph Sungi had a firm view that a reconciliation ceremony was more than necessary at the burial site at Wunali. It was fitting for the people of Nuku to say sorry to the Australian government and the visiting patrol officers. Under a dull weather and a downpour, the ceremony took place.
So me prolong district of Nuku, some leader from Yukra. Me looking for some, he got all spiritual meaning. Why am I coming in good Lord, physical kagai blong. Future, na blood beginning blow me lo Nuku. So me, also member of Yukra, me looking for some, you know what monara for good time no make him misla. The good time no make him misla, I'm not 40 years independence anniversary of this country.
People in Australia and people in PNG sometimes did bad things. The one thing to remember all the time is that PNG and Australia are friends and we are family. That is the strongest bind we have between us. It's a bind that existed before and it's a bind that will only continue to get stronger and stronger because we are a very strong family. We thank you for having us and we accept the apology and thank you very much. We apologize too.
People got big sorry too. You talk sorry, now me talk sorry too. Now me like thinking now. People making this sorry sorry. You can losing this heavy blow you you can walk forward. No can worry no this heavy now. Okay? A good one. People sorry too or something like here.
The people of Wunali offered pigs to the visiting Australian as a ceremony exchange of goods, signifying remorse, requesting forgiveness and reconciliation. Hilton, during his speech at Nuku Government Station, said Australia and PNG's relations extend beyond political ties, and events like this further strengthened it. The events in Nuku were planned to reconcile with history, harness peace and unity in order to advance development aspirations of the people. It's very unique, one would think. Honourable Joseph Sungi also paid tribute by visiting the burial site of pioneer political leader for Nuku, the late Jacob Tallis. This was at Ningil, Yangkok local level government area. Late Jacob Tallis was the first member of the Legislative Assembly from 1964 to 1971, representing the people of Nuku. After independence, he was elected member for Nuku and later became the first premier for West Sepik from 1978 to 1980. The people of Nuku in this independence acknowledged his contribution to development and upgraded his gravesite.
As Papua New Guinea for 40 years old, people also need to appreciate Nuku Savior long online. Nida people, Musadi Karim, come up, start from before long independence, it coming up. Now people establish them. So Tani Plaxim independence threat, late Jacob Talis, I've been member of the Nuku on the time in 1975. On 16 September 1975, I've been staff also member of the UNIPLA, marking people for Nuku Yang of National Parliament. No one can tell me, it's now for 40 years, people are thinking, man. No look sour, also, this is 40 years too. People look sour, look, and working, now come up in this street, so me also member of Nuku, me talk to one of my brother. Looking also me plan need to straighten, now look sour, man. So this street, he put in name, now look sour, now talk thank you, man. We know the writing, person, one block, but we writing good long. Metal, ceramic and stuff, so all of that to Muna Bian, you can look somewhere else. Which are a member, first member of the parliament of Nuku, and stop side the road, my nigga.
Under the leadership of Honourable Joseph Sungi, he is passionate about a development progress that transform and build a new Nuku. It has now been chosen as one of the 5 pilot districts in the country to trial the District Development Authority concept.
Now, I spend a lot of time in Port Moresby talking to Vice Minister Sungi. He's an extremely good advocate for the Nuku district. He's always coming to see me to tell me about his plans. And I must say it is extremely exciting to hear about those plans. It is extremely exciting to hear about those plans. Nuku district is indeed a district on the move. So much opportunity. You can feel the energy out there today. You can feel the energy when you hear Vice Minister Sungi talking about his plans. You're getting roads connected. We're seeing improvements in police facilities. We're seeing economic development. We're seeing a focus on vanilla. We're seeing a focus on cattle. We're going to help out with the cocoa. It is an exciting place to be, and there's only more good things to come.
Honourable Joseph Sungi believes District Development Authority is the way to go for the country and for Nuku. The missing link has been achieved, and that was to acknowledge history. A devoted Christian, he believes God has preserved the life of Oaks to be in Nuku this year, to share his experience, inspire leadership, and ultimately release his blessing to him. Oaks, before leaving Nuku, unveiled this commemorative monument at Nuku airstrip, near the district office. Maybe for the last time, he flew off in an airplane on the airstrip he built 58 years ago, leaving behind the blessings of Nuku on the move, a development transformation he started.